Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Pan-African Television this morning. We are also live on Radio Gold. Well, last week we were on a break. This week we are back. The mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Here we say it as it is, no matter who is involved. In the end, we'll leave you better educated. Now, Happy New Year to you, because it's the first time I'm seeing you in the New Year. Of course, before the New Year, we're in Tamale. But after the New Year, we took that break. So a happy New Year to you. And a big thank you to the people of Tamale for their warm hospitality. Tamale is the place to be, was the place to be actually. We enjoyed our time in Tamale. Today, we're talking about elections. Because this week, the NDC held a press conference to raise questions about what happened in the local government elections. And then, of course, there was Dr. Kojo Afarijan, who told us the ranking when it comes to the most important stakeholders in elections. He says the political parties first, that's the candidates. Without candidates, the Electoral Commission does not exist. Then he said the second group are the voters before the Electoral Commission itself. He's been saying a lot of things about our elections. One of them, he has raised issues with the regional collation centers. But then the thing he says that sticks is what he said about the IPAC platform forum. He says the Electoral Commission must view the Inter-Party Advisory Committee as a convenient forum for discussing changes to our electoral practices, irrespective of whether the intended change originates from the Commission or the party. The reason is that it is not a good practice to foist changes in electoral practices on important stakeholders like political parties. It is prudent to discuss any intended changes thoroughly at IPAC meetings with a view to achieving consensus. If consensus is achieved, the IPAC then becomes a convenient vehicle for disseminating the changes to the electorate. Remember the accusations that have been leveled against the Electoral Commission that it is just imposing its will on the political party without creating a platform for discussion and consensus being reached at IPAC. That's leading to the NDC boycotting IPAC, and then after talks with the Peace Council, deciding to return. Well, that's the advice coming from Dr. Kojo Afarijan. He also has an advice for the NDC that when you go there, remember the Electoral Commission is an independent body. You cannot force your views on them. Well, so we'll be talking about the comments that were made by the NDC calling for urgent electoral reforms and improvements after the local government elections, and the Dr. Kojo Afarijan's comments. And then we'll move on to President Akufo-Addo's promise. He will leave behind a prosperous, progressive Ghana. That's all. So we'll discuss that. And then we'll move on to the matter of SML. President Akufo-Addo has ordered a probe into SML. He's chosen KPMG to do that. Now, the biggest fight this week has been between the Ghana Revenue Authority and Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Honorable Member of Parliament for North Tong. He says he tracked the boss of the GRA, leaving this country at a time when the KPMG was supposed to be doing an audit of the SML situation. That being the one who signed the contract anywhere in the world where there's an investigation or probe of sort of an action you've taken, you cannot leave the country. You cannot move until that investigation is concluded. But the GRA says, we gave him leave. He needed some leave, so we gave him a few days off. And so Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa was being mischievous and should apologize. Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa told me yesterday that they can wait until the second coming of Jesus. He's not apologizing for anything. So those are the three issues we are discussing this morning. And joining me to discuss these issues, let me start from my right. Lawyer Apia Dankwa is a member of the Movement for Change, joining us this morning in a Liverpool shirt. Interesting. As I move closer, and of course, right after him is the Don himself, Ni Yaboy Anan of Udududiodio. He's a financial analyst, as consultant, among several other things. He's aspiring to be member of Parliament for Udududiodio on the ticket of the NDC. And then there's Brakojo, Mr. Kojo Chumbuafo, who is a former chief executive of Ghana Free Zones Board, as it was known at the time. And then we'll be joined by Victoria Wilson, who is a member of the socialist movement of Ghana to complete our panel today. So that's our panel that's discussing those issues this morning. This morning, if you want to join us via social media, you'd have to use the YouTube option. We're working on seeing if the YouTube can be rebroadcast on Radio Gold 905 FM's Facebook page. The problem is that somewhere along this week, the Pan-African TV Facebook page was hacked. We are unable to retrieve it. We've created a new page that they have been using throughout this week, but we've not been able to get the number of follows and likes that are needed to do a live streaming through the page. So what we'll do subsequently is I will share the Pan-African TV Facebook page on my page so that a lot more of you can like it so that we can use it next week, because we need the likes and the follows for us to be able to stream live on the Pan-African TV Facebook page. But for now, it's on YouTube Pan-African TV. If Radio Gold is able to put it on the Facebook page, I'll let you know so that you can go and watch it there. I am Sena Numbo for my crew here. Thank you very much for making time once again. And let's start the discussion with the calls for electoral reforms. And we'll start with Don this morning. Don, good morning.
Good morning, Sena. Thank you for having me, and greetings to my co-panelists. It's been a while since we met. Kojo has been away for a while. As for my good friend from the Fafranto party or movement, we have always been around here. And then now greet the people of Ododo for that matter. I mean, to come to the main issue, certainly and clearly, Dr. Kojo Farijan has or can be described as an authority when it comes to election management in this country. Anything coming from him must be taken, and we have to digest it very well. I mean, listening to what he had to say, I think he's right on almost all the issues. First and foremost, the NDC returning to IPAC. For me, I believe it's good. And the issue about the fact that the EC is independent, I think is something we have to really address in this country. Administratively, they are independent. In terms of what they do and all that, they are independent to the extent at which they do not infringe on the rights of Ghanaians. Their independence is not inelastic. And that point must be made clear. You cannot say that they are independent to the extent that they are free to take any decision because the Constitution of the Republic says they are independent. No. There are restrictions to that independence. And therefore, if they do something to the contrary, that is not sanctioned by the Constitution. People have the right to take them on. Yes, in terms of dialogue, you always have the persuasive dialogue and all that there is in there when things are not really delineated and defined in law. And therefore, we would all have to use what we call common sense to come to a conclusion. And at that point, in terms of being persuasive with what you say and what you suggest, I think is the way to go, and whether they accept it or not, or whether they are persuaded or not, is also another issue. But let us not drum this issue about their independence and presenting it as if it is in that independence is inelastic. No, it's elastic. it will break at some point. The issues we are talking about here today are some reforms that have occurred. One of the heads of NASA that succeeded in going to space, when was asked, why did you succeed? Because it was the same staff, the same capabilities and everything. And he was asked, why were you able to succeed? He said, the only thing I did is to remove the several levels of reporting and have a direct reporting from my staff. And that is how he described his success. We are talking of a reform where either two, you had to transmit information from constituencies direct to the EC. And therefore, you have a direct attraction to the source document, which is the pink sheet from a constituency. Then all of a sudden, we brought in another layer of reporting, where from the constituency, it has to go to the region for collation, which means that there will be a transmission from the source document to a level of reporting, which is the region that was created. In the case of any distortions, in the case of any error, either omission, commission, transposition, it means that the one at the last layer of reporting, which is the national level, have to bypass the regional collation to the source document, which is not available to them. This cannot be good. This cannot be transparent. This is fraught with a lot of issues. And therefore, we must seek to immediately, without any persuasion, remove such layer of reporting. After all, we are looking at 275 constituencies having reporting from 275 constituencies. How large is that? Will that bring delays? Because in the last election, with all the regional collation that was done, I did not see any much improvement in reporting time to the people of Ghana. In fact, we had a lot of reports that kept changing and moving, which shouldn't have been. We all know, and we can all get the various coalitions from the constituencies early enough if we are to do our things right. But now, if I have to agree first and foremost by a regional coalition being transmitted to the national before I can make a case out of it, that is certainly not good. In fact, for us, people in the financial industry, accounting, tax, whatever, the first thing you go for, auditing, whatever, the first thing you go for is to go for the source document itself. In fact, the source document must have its own references and all that. Now, the referencing from the regional collation bears no identity with regards to what was produced at the collation center, at the constituency level. So how am I supposed to rely on the regional collation to pronounce an election. For me, if you put me in that situation, I will tell you straightforward, that is fraud. That is fraud. And if you have to put me through that pain, that I have to have agreed with a regional coalition before I can make a case out of the national coalition, then that is certainly also not right. And therefore, I think that with the experience he has spoken with, we all need to listen to. I don't think that over the years we have had an issue with how coalitions were done directly from the constituencies to the national level. I don't think we have had that issue. We have even had the period where we mount boards at the Independence Square. And as the result comes in, we plug them in. We are able to do that. In today's world, where solutions regarding technologies abound, how can we decide as a nation to retrogress and do things in such an embarrassing way and call it evolution, call it development? That is certainly not right. And I think he nailed it by what he said. Look, in 2024, already we are in 2024, but to be specific, December 7, 2024, an event prior to that date must be seen to be transparent to all Ghanaians, must be seen to be very fair to all sides, because the stakes are high come that day. And nobody is going to allow the other, whether you bring guns, you bring whatever, to turn results like it happened at certain places. It will not happen in 2024. We need this nation to be safe, as it has been all this while, and not to erupt based on one person's decision. I will call an issue of overindulgence. I think the EC chair is overindulging herself. He should know that he is working for the people of Ghana. And he must work with us and must be seen working with us and not the other way around. He will not decide the elections. The people of Ghana will decide the elections. And it will be peaceful, whether they like it or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nia Boyanan. Starting a conversation on the calls for electoral reforms, Dr. Kojo Afarijan is asking for a return to the APAC the way it used to be. La.
So, I'm going to take this opportunity to wish you a happy new year. I wish my own friend and brother Don a happy new year. Today he's privileged to be sandwiched between two proud members of the Live Abed clan. And hopefully the blessings that is emanating from the red half of Mercy, Mercy side, touches the Don in his quest to lead the people of Ododio.
Seriously, as a man,
but I was trying to hide that information because just that information could make him lose. But the Don is my brother. Even when I was a member of the red, white, and blue, he knows that I wished him well. Because for me, the reason why I think anybody should do politics is Ghana, and it shouldn't matter whether, sometimes it shouldn't matter the party or the person, because for me, if the NDC has somebody who I believe can do the job, I don't see why we shouldn't support him. Persons from MPP president from them or any other party. But then I think the major consideration for me is what is in the best interest of the country. And also to wish my senior brother, as we have never met. This is the first time we are meeting. To wish me a happy new year. We have never, and just to realize that I always thought that we were born, as in we had, both of us went at Chibotal School. He's my senior. But even beyond that, I realized that we are both in the You Never Walk Alone clan. And that's an even bigger bond. So, Accra, happy new year. And to wish...
I forgive you. Right school, right team. The other one.
No, but the wrong part. The wrong can certainly not be
wrong party before.
But that's the past. I wish the people of Ghana a happy new year. My prayer is that this year they will realize that what unites us as people are larger than what divides us, and our deliberations, our sole consideration will be in what is in the best interest of the country. And come 2024, when we're making the decision as to the direction the country takes, we make a decision that brings about real transformation. And that decision certainly will be in voting for Honorable Alhaji Chairman as the President of Ghana in 2024. Now, on this issue of the EC reform, I think there cannot be a debate as to the need and essence for reforms. As in, no organization, no group grows by being static. In the life of the organization, it is very imperative that you do self-introspection, you audit your practices, you audit your results, you consider the purpose, the function, the reason why the organization was set in the first place, and then make determination as to whether or not there are needs for reforms. Personally, I think it was very critical, very important, like the Don rightly said, that one of the doyens, very critical human beings in our fourth republic, in the fourth republic, Dr. Afrajan, made comments on the job the AC is doing and the need for reforms. And having organized and supervised and actually entrenched electoral practices in Ghana, anything that Dr. Afrajan says certainly must be considered highly and must be thought about and then interrogated, especially if your focus is in playing a role in Ghana's democratic growth. This current EC, before what's called issues over the last few months that culminated in the discussions on 7th January, had taken steps to begin some sort of reforms, which, in my opinion, were shocking. As in, like I said, I stand on all for what they don't said about the regional coalition center. You don't change a system that is working, really. As in, and we are all lovers of football, and we are all lovers of the EPL. There's something I always say. Ever since I followed the EPL, and I followed the English Premier League for more than 30 years, and we all know that second week in August, English Premier League is going to start. We all know that ending of May, the FA Cup final will be played. You see, you don't change a system that has proven to be working. We have run 8 elections. I think until it was last election that she introduced the regional coalition. We had a system where for the constituencies, they collate and then they have their own returning officer. And for the presidential, the EC is the returning officer. And then for the presidential, all they do is that they take the constituency after their coalition they've made and they transmit it directly to the EC. This system really has served us well. Now, why do you bring another layer that is going to expose the whole system to infiltrations and penetrations and even the chances of people rigging and doing all manner of things? Because at the end of the day, your responsibility is not only to deliver an election that is free and fair, but an election that is seen and perceived to be free and fair. And to bring about reforms which really are not needed because we have a system that largely is working. I've heard her talk about some 3 p.m. issue. Why the rush? Why the rush? You have a system that is working. Now, what even makes the whole attempt at reform and their focus quite disappointing is that they are real reformators that I'm thinking that the EC should lead discussions on. One, at the last election, about how many people lost their lives? 8 people. That, you see, we are going to vote to choose our leaders. It's a very important exercise, especially when you look at the philosophical or the philosophy underpinning this representative government system that we have. I believe that man in his natural state creates a society that is very chaotic. And so it's up to us, the repository of sovereign power, to come together and then give our power to one body or somebody. And then that person will protect our lives, protect our freedoms and liberties, and then our right to our own happiness. And so when in that process, we create a system that will cause 8 people to lose their lives. And you, the EC, you are not leading any discussion as to reforms that would eradicate any chance of people losing their lives in this process. You understand? 2, we have a situation where the president of this country, you understand, has taken actions that seriously undermine the integrity of the EC. Seriously undermine the integrity of the EC. Because, you see, at the end of the day, like I said, I know there's no limitation on who you can choose so far as the person qualifies per the constitution. But common sense will tell you that because you want to protect the integrity of the EC, and because the obligation in the process is not just to deliver an election that is free and fair, but to deliver an election that is perceived and believed by all and sundry to be free and fair, then you must, in your appointing the referee for that election, you must deliberately, or you must understand the need to appoint somebody who none of the direct participants, as in the political parties, can say or even think that have alliances to a certain political party. We know that we all vote. Everybody votes. The EC itself votes. You understand? But we must not believe or even think that the EC tilts towards a certain political party. So for the president to make appointments and appoint people who we clearly, or people who, as in the past or in their lives, have clearly demonstrated their allegiances to a certain political party, calls for reforms in how electoral commissioners are appointed. Clearly. Also, we've had instances where we've had 2 presidential, challenges of elections at the courts. There have been numerous parliamentary challenges. I recount one challenge, I think, in the Ayagon West Wagon, where the judgment was passed just after their term had expired. Clearly, that also calls for some form of reform. So in electoral-related disputes, there's a need to at least make reforms that will ensure that the judgments of the court have real impact, because that judgment really became used as one of the day. The judgment was passed after their term had expired. You understand? Now, these are the kind of reforms that I was thinking that the EC, because when you look at the functions of the EC, it's not just to supervise the elections, but the whole electoral, because the allies and things. It's the EC that was initiates in creation of constituencies, in creation of their powers so far as elections are concerned are extensive. You understand? And so, in my view, in all matters that borders around elections, direct elections, dispute resolution issues, the security matters, are matters that I believe or I think behoves on the EC to initiate conversations on them. And she's not talking about them. She's not driving public opinion towards these very critical issues. And she's talking about, and she's creating regional coalition centers, talking about not using indelible marks in Ghana. And this Ghana, you want to conduct an election, don't be perceived to be free and fair and without indelible marks. How's that going to be possible? Especially in the last district elections, when people went to vote and without notice or anything, they went and the logistics needed for the elections to take place was not there. They weren't there. You understand? You want to run an election in this Ghana that we all accept to be free and fair, and you won't use indelible mark. Come on. You understand? So those are the kind of reforms. So you're talking about reforms that will bring chaos. Not reforms that would create that environment where we will all believe in the integrity of the electoral process. So, also, Africans spoke about the political parties or even about the people of Ghana being stakeholders in election issues about IPAC and all. You see, I think the way governance have been run in this country and the way we, the people of Ghana ourselves, have handled our role in the governance process has been very exclusive as against being inclusive. Because essentially what we've done is we, the people of Ghana, have sat down and we've put our destinies and the responsibility in driving a democratic culture into the hands of our political parties, into the hands of the NPP and then the NDC. So in terms of matters that concerns the operations of the election itself, we've left it to them. In terms of even the candidates, we've left it to them. And sadly, consistently, I see these major political parties taking for granted the huge obligation we've placed upon their shoulders. Now, why do I say that? You see, the exercise that we conduct on every 7th December is a very critical exercise, because we take an exercise that chooses people who are going to take very critical decisions for our country, and these decisions are going to affect every strand of our individual lives. We cannot sit down aloof. You understand? We cannot sit down aloof, especially when increasingly some elements, not all of them, some elements, in fact large elements within these political parties have proven beyond all reasonable doubt that their major consideration in driving our governance is not what is in the interest of the country, is not what is in the interest of the common man working on the street, but it's what is in their individual and personal interest. Now, because of this sad culture that seems to be creeping into our politics, this culture of patronage, culture of clientelism, this culture of a clear lack of love or patriotism for our country, it is necessary that the citizens of this country take a serious interest in matters that pertain to our democracy and our governance system. Because you go into our constitution, the direct principle of state policy, where the objectives of the country are aligned, economically, politically, socially, educational wise are aligned, and then you do a quick audit between the objects as have been outlined in the constitution and how we've managed our democracy. Because you take this our district level elections, and really the mind behind it, the whole idea is that was the way in which we were going to get a truly decentralized system. Because mind you, when you take the most popular definition of democracy now, that's what Abraham Lincoln said, that government of the people, government by the people, and government for the people. You understand? Then for us to achieve that, because there are three strands, government, yes, certainly we vote, and that's why it is government of the people. He also said it should be government by the people. Now what that means is that the people of this country must play a role in how governance is done, and the government must be for the people. And I'm saying that a constitution is a system where we have an inclusive government system. You understand? And the easiest way of achieving that is through a truly decentralized system. Can you say that in the way we do things in this country, we are truly decentralized? If we were, then there's no way the Vice President of Ghana, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, will go and stand at Abibloshi and then say that the lives of the people of Agbogbloshie matter as the life of the people of Cantonments. And so he's going to commission and provide toilets. Because if you are vice president, provision of toilets should not be your business. You understand? But the system we are driving in this country is not inclusive. Really, if you ask me, they are not even working. And so the vice president is so free, he's not busy. So he can have the time, he can afford the time to go and commission toilets at Agbogbloshie. We can only have an experience through democracy. A democracy that is not just government of the people, but it's also government by and for the people. If the citizens of this country will rise up, show serious interest in the politics, and realize that they cannot leave their destinies in the hands of our political parties alone. Because, like I'm saying, the whole idea of political parties is not bad. Anybody who says that MPP or NDC or whatever party is bad per se, then that person won't be is being unfair. But however, whether you like it or not, every political party is made up of one man of people. And increasingly, because of the laid back and the aloof nature of the citizens of this country, our political parties have been taken over by large elements of people whose sole motivation is what is in their best interest. Because of the choices they make, the choices the political parties make. You understand? And I'm not patronizing them on here. I wish Christ political party will want to, you have such a talented man, you want to use whatever means to exclude him from representing people in parliament. Because I think we need the best brains in this country leading a governance system. It shouldn't matter for me, it shouldn't matter what political coloring they are from. You understand? We need the best brains, no matter their coloring, to lead our governance system. And we can only do that if we run a truly inclusive government system. And that is why what Alhaji said is very important. That one of the major stakeholders in our electoral system are the people. And it is important that we run a system that will include them more in discussions in how things are done in these reforms. Then we can then have a true benefit of our democracy. To end, I wish to draw the attention of Ghanaians to the Great Transformational Plan. Because one of the core pillars of the Great Transformational Plan is to run a government system that is inclusive. A government system that will unite the people of this country. A government system that will provide a platform where the best of our country will lead. Because at the end of the day, in we say it is we're all different in our thinking, as even within the political parties, within NPP, within NDC, even with them, it's impossible to find two people who agree on every single situation. But that's the beauty of life. In our diversity of ideas, of thoughts, is our strength. Because as we test our ideas against each other, as we disagree and allow for disagreement, that's when we can fashion out the best of every system and every policy. Let us put the destiny of this country into the hands of a leader who is ready to work with all manner of people insofar as their consideration is what is the best interest of Ghana. Because at the end of the day, after 32 years, the time has come for us to start reaping the benefits of democracy. That if we fail to take advantage and start delivering on the promise of democracy, then maybe what is happening around West Africa maybe may creep its ugly head into this country. And so, Senna, for me, I think we need reforms, but let us do proper reforms. Let us have a system where people can go and vote and nobody will die. Let us go and vote where people understand that, listen, it is an expression of opinion, and that we must respect each other's opinion, no matter how we disagree with their opinions. Let us create a system where together, all of us as Ghanaians, can choose leaders that represent the values and principles of our country. Let us choose leaders that can fulfill the objectives of this country, as has been laid down in the principles in our constitution. Let us come together and build a nation. Nobody will build a nation for us, and that process starts when we go and choose our leaders.
Thank you, Dara. If you just join us, the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Like I said this morning on social media, we're live on YouTube, Pan-African Television. Just look for the YouTube page, Pan-African Television, and join us. When you join us, share your comments there. I'll read it. Like I said, we have difficulties broadcasting live on Facebook, streaming live on Facebook for you. And of course, the show is live on Pan-African Television on television. And of course, live on radio, on Radio Gold, and several other affiliate radio stations across the country. Before I go to Mr. Chumboa for one comment from Dennis Yakwete, if there's anybody who will create problem for Ghana's young democracy, then it is the current EC boss. And sadly, the loud silence of the moral society appears to be complicating issues, and hence the need for serious reforms. In the just held assembly elections in Somania, for instance, voting commenced after 11 a.m. in almost all polling stations, and yet the EC is contemplating to end voting at 3 p.m. in the bigger election ahead. And I will not be surprised if this comes to pass with the aid of our weak parliament, as the EC will violate our electoral laws not to have used indelible ink in the said assembly elections with impunity. So sad. But with Isaiah 33:22, we shall triumph. Shalom. That's coming from Dennis Yao Akwete. Mr. Chumwabo.
Thank you very much. And good morning to all your august listeners. Good morning to my fellow panelists, you, Senna, and special good morning to my brother who never walks alone. Is an Accra and has successfully emigrated from a party whose name I will not mention. My brother Ni Yaboy has been very diplomatic. Unfortunately, diplomacy is not my strong suit, as many of you know. So I'm going to be as blunt as I possibly can. I agree in large measure to the things that our father, Dr. Alhaji has said. He gave sterling service to this country, and perhaps when the contemporary history of this country's electoral politics is written, he will probably be at the apex of it for being the one who more or less gave us our representative democracy in the manner in which it has turned out. Of course, prior to the moment when the usurpers came in and bastardized the process. Senna, or Dr. Afarijan said that the NDC should remember that the EC is an independent body. I disagree with him. The EC is not an independent body as it is. Because nobody can tell me that Dr. Bosman Asari is an independent person. This is a man who is still a paid-up member of TESCON. In fact, he was a patron of TESCON when he was on campus. Can you tell me that me, Kojo Chumboafo, if I suddenly became a referee in the EPL and you put me in the middle of a Liverpool and Manchester United match, can you tell me that I'm going to be partial and impartial? Can you tell me that? Right? Can you tell me that if I, sitting here today, I'm put in the middle of a House of Folk and Kotoko match, are you trying to tell me I'm going to be partial? You know, you can believe in the tooth fairy if you want. But reality is reality. Nobody can tell me that if you have put somebody like Dr. Peter Apiahini on the EC, that the body is now independent. And you see, there's a lawyer here. Electoral rigging can have two forms: ex-ante rigging and ex-post rigging. Ex-post is when you have MPP party chairman seizing and oppressionists seizing boxes and running into some holes and counting 5 times until somebody wins. But that kind of practice is becoming an endangered kind of practice, because you could actually lose your commission when the people are really angry. Okay? So this EC that is lopsidedly partisan and overtly partisanly political, because we have heard the EC chair insulting the NDC on a hot mic. We have heard Dr. Bosman Asari say openly that the NDC is the cause of all Ghana's problems. How do I make them an independent body? Does that sound like independence to you? So what they are doing now is to use what they call ex-ante rigging. That is, they will use every single administrative process they can to ensure that the NDC loses the election. And then after they declared it 9 times, then it's over, ever. No, so why would you even be attempting to tell us that you are not going to use indelible ink? You see, I always tell people who will listen that technology is not everything. Technology has aided us to come from the Neanderthal ages, the Stone Ages, when men were walking on 4 quarters, okay, to where we are, standing tall, standing straight, and we are able to use technology to solve a lot of our problems. But it's not the end all and be all of everything, and we all know that. You are from the Volta region. There are certain places in the Volta region that the electoral material is going to get there by canoe. Not so. Even with the 5 p.m., we know that sometimes the electoral materials get there at 2 p.m. Not so. Because maybe the outboard motor won't start, so they need to use paddles. There are certain places in the nether regions of Salaga constituency where they have to take the electoral materials there by canoe. Right? You know that. Places in the western region, in Zulezu, you know that by the time the electoral materials get there, and repeatedly since 1979, the electoral materials have always been late. Why would you want to be closing the election at 3 p.m.? What's wrong with you? Except that you know that those constituencies have a pattern of voting for a certain particular party, and you want to make sure that they don't vote. That's what this EC is doing. They want to steal the election. They want to steal the election for Alhaji Timothy. That is what they want to do. Right? They want to steal the election for Timothy Baumia. That's what they want to do. But let them understand this, and understand very clearly. The Ghanaian people have had enough of this government. And the only reason why insurrections don't take place in this country anymore is that the people know that they have an opportunity to get you out. If you are the kind of government that has said one thing and done another thing, like this government have. Remember, we will protect the public purse. Remember that? Is the public purse being protected today? As we speak today, this government has put an intellectual drain pipe into our oil resources. They are bunkering our oil, right, with private flow meters, and are collecting up to $100 million a year per their own to a company whose bona fides lie in the timber industry. And I know because I was the head of free zones. So I know Evans Timber. Transpose that to 2016 when lawyer and his people were screaming that the MPP needs to come to where NDC needs to leave. How would you have taken Sektekwe writing to everybody that they have now put private flow meters in our oil, and that company is earning $100 million a year. What would you have called it? It's a slush fund. It's stealing. You are stealing the resources of this country and pocketing it into a slush fund that you are going to use ostensibly to support Alhaji Timothy. Of course, some of it will be hidden for posterity, generational wealth, right? Because some people in this country believe that this country belongs to them. And they've said as much. You can ask Richard Kwachiga, he was told that this country belongs to a certain people and their forefathers, as if the rest of us didn't count. So this whole thing that is going on, right, is an exercise in theft. They are trying to steal the election. But they want to make sure that at the end of the day, the so-called what do you call them? The observers, when it comes, they say they saw it free and fair because they didn't see anything, no problem. Because they are visibly shaken by what happened, the resistance they got in 2020. That's what is going on. It's not that hard to explain. Okay? My first visual as a child of elections in 1979 was when my parents went to vote. When they came back, everybody's fingers. At that time, they used to use 2 fingers. So everybody's fingers were, contaminated with that ink that they brought. In fact, for the next 10 to 12 days, where, every time my mom cooks, we eat ink. Okay? But there was a certain sense that people had gone to a plebiscite, exercised their franchise, and they were not going to be disenfranchised by a criminal lot sitting in a room trying to dictate who they want to become the head of this country, because they want to cover their own foibles. Many of them have built monstrous hotels and monstrous properties in this country. We've all seen them. They don't want to account for their tenure. So in as much as they want Alhaji Timothy to win the election, they also have a paid up need for cover. But I can assure them that they are not going to get it. Because just as in 2016, you people took the NDC to the assizes and made sure that the NDC accounted for its tenure, whether what you were saying was true or not, the same thing is going to happen. You are going to go. Because the people of Ghana have had enough. The people of Ghana have had enough of waking up on New Year's Eve and being told that your electricity bills are going to go up by 22%. Right? As we speak today, if you had bought 10 days worth of electricity, when that apparition goes into effect, what you are going to see is that your 10 days electricity is now worth 7.8 days, less than 8 days. Plus VAT. If it goes up again, it's now worth 78%. 7.8 days of those 7.8 days plus the differential in VAT. So gradually, as you go along, you become like a log graph. It will approach zero, but it will never reach zero. You are going to get to the point where what you were paying today, in a few months' time, it will be worth like 2 or 3 days electricity. That's what Ghanaians are saying we don't want anymore, because we were told that we were proud people. Do you remember that? A few months ago, we were told that we were proud people. We're not going to go to the IMF. Now we are citing IMF conditionalities to disenfranchise the people and put us into darkness. In the last year, just in case most of you don't know, electricity rates went up by 29%. Remember that? And they went up by 19%. Okay? You are... As you sit, the ECG assesses that you, Senna, for example, you use a certain amount of kilowatts a day. So if you like, turn off your fridge, turn off your freezer, turn off your kettle, sleep in the dark, don't even put on a fan. Fan yourself in the middle of the night. The next day, that amount of electricity would have gone off your meter. Because whether you use it or not, that assumption has been programmed into your meter, and it will go. This is what we live with as Ghanaians. And this is why the people of Ghana are saying, we've had enough of you. You're going to go. Because what you sold us about President Mahama was a lie. And indeed, a terrible lie at that. Many Ghanaians have regretted. How many of you don't go out? If I'm lying, phone in or text in and say I'm lying. How many of you don't go out and meet people who tell you they've regretted voting for Akufo-Addo? Remember? What has he done since he got there? You have increased our electricity, citing IMF conditionalities. And then you have also increased the amount of money you take to the Jubilee House or Flagstaff House, as I choose to call it. What are you going to do with the money? Why isn't there any semblance of pause with these people that Ghanaians are in hardship? So let us go down, cut our coat according to the size of our cloth, seeing that we've already messed up this country, the manner in which we have done. Children go to school for 3 weeks and come home for 3 months. People are now still paying for, have gone back to paying for cash and carry. Right? Every social intervention in this country, whether it was brought by President Kufuor, Kwame Nkrumah, Gorgeous Beg, today is in arrears. Name me one that is not in arrears. When the Minister of Finance collects NHIL, it doesn't go to Go Boy. You can ask him. You call him and ask him. You know you call him and ask him. Our NHIL is in arrears cumulatively for about 4 years. So what are you doing with the money? But you refuse to be accountable. So now you are trying to use the Electoral Commission to steal an election that we haven't even gone to. I mean, it's bad enough to see people having a seance around what do you call it? A ballot box in an MPP chairman's house, right? Who have gold chains in their necks like millstones. Okay? It's bad enough. But now you want to actually rig the election before we even get there. What is wrong with you people? And why do you think that the Ghanaian is going to sit askance for you to impose a third term of Akufo-Addo on us? Why? We want to pay more electricity bills? We want to add VAT to VAT? Look, my young friends, those of you who are listening, I can say my young friends because some of you are younger than me. Remember the term nuisance taxes? Remember the term nuisance taxes? It was a term brilliantly coined by the MPP, Keno Foriata, in fact. Sat on all media and called nuisance taxes, was in the streets distributing leaflets. Remember that? Since he became finance minister, let me tell you some of the taxes he has given us. 3% VAT flat rate, 5% increase in VAT, debt fund, 25% increase in corporate tax, 2% increase in special import levy, 1% COVID levy, plus 3%, another 3% VAT, and there's a 1% COVID levy on the 1%. 1% on 1%, 5% fiscal stabilization levy, 5% financial sector cleanup recovery levy, 1% e-levy, 20% levy on a litre of petrol, 10% boiler levy, the boiler levy that we found in Cecilia Dapa's house, 10%, 10 pesos boiler levy on a litre of petrol, 18% levy on LPG, 2.5% on increase in VAT, luxury vehicle tax, 50% increase in coal tax, 30% increase in energy sector levy, which has been collateralized, by the way. So you are paying that levy and it's going to a black hole, right? Because it's been collateralized for 15 years. 11% increase in special petroleum tax, 200% increase in boss margin, 40% increase in price stabilization and recovery levy, 25% increase in... Look, I could go on to the end of the program. Now, to add insult to injury, this government has begun to tax hypertension. sit down in your sober moments, and absorb what I just said. You have put tax on our only sanctuary, Apotechi. Sena, like the people from your hometown says, Apotechi Tetia, you have put taxes on Apotechi. What is wrong with you? So close the loop. Put taxes on we, because you have legalized it. If you smoke enough in the industrial quantities of weed, it is legal. Put tax on it. What is wrong with these people? And you still want to give us Timothy in December? Are you serious? Let me quote what Oliver Cromwell told the Ram Parliament in 1653. You have sat around too long for any good that you have done to be made manifest. In God's name, go. Just go. Don't try to rig the election. You can vote for the election. You can do this election in an all night. You can take the ballot boxes to ICGC all night. We'll come and vote. You can start from 6 a.m. and end at 8 a.m. We will come and vote. You can put it at Osu Night Market. We will come and vote before we buy the cake. Whatever you do, we will vote and we will vote you out. Because it is time to go. Just go. In God's name, go. Just go. Don't try to rig the election, because it will have consequences that you people cannot fathom. If you want to enjoy the mansions that you have built at the expense of the Ghanaian people, and the hotels and the sanctuaries, some of you have even built zoos. If you want to chill with your animals, go. Go. That's all. That's all Ghanaians are asking. Just go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jumpo, for concluding the conversation on the first topic of discussion. I have a couple of messages I have to go through. This is Akpaliok Daniel, who says Ghana is sitting on a time bomb and would in the near future be like Sudan if the MPP government does not stop appointing party faithfuls to the Electoral Commission. Daniel, thank you very much. He's also wishing a happy birthday to Honorable Timothy Atabuari. Bente Albert says, in fact, MPP is destroying Ghana. Where from this tax, they always collect it and share to themselves. And then those were from our YouTube page, those of you watching. These ones are from our WhatsApp platform. Says a good morning. And this one said, it's like AC is not there for Ghanaians. Why am I saying so? Because if she is there for Ghanaians, she will listen to the call of Ghanaian. But it's like she's there for somebody else. I don't understand. One person refuses to listen to anybody. It is as if she's bigger than the whole nation. Maybe she is there for the appointing authority. My advice for the great NDC is that they should be vigilant on polls on 7th December, because the AC, she is not she will not be helpful to the NDC. So be vigilant. Vigilance is the only way we need at this time. Captain Mantuga Sender from Ada is. Thank you very much for that message. Some more comments from those of you who are joining us. This one is respectfully, the MPP is emboldened to steal the good people of Ghana with confidence because of the weakness of our parliament, which in my view didn't perform up to the expectations of Ghanaians. We, the people of Ghana, didn't realize any advantage from the hung parliament. Our majority side had all that it takes not to approve most of these MPP, including appointments, including Oforiatta and Brian Champon. Yet that, what have we experienced? It's about time our leaders showed more action than mere talks and lamentations before we, the followers. Richard Bemba Yoda sent that from Winneba. Richard, thank you for that message. I just want to ask why any decent person who joins the MPP becomes a professional defending a clear wrongdoing. Thank you. Didn't add your name to the message. There is this one from Daniel again. through this one, says the inconsistency of the EC relating to the discharge of their duties breeds skepticism among political parties and other well-meaning Ghanaians about their independence. This act of the EC to blatantly disregard court suits and defy public opinions to hold voters registration exercise in only district offices clearly undermine the generality of the Ghanaian populace, which has the tendency of putting our democracy under threat. As if that is not enough, Madam Jean Mensah has again taken a unilateral decision to take out indelible ink in the coming election without the consent of any political party. This is clearly a mark of voter suppression and a scheming attempt to rig the election. Thank you, Daniel, for sending that from Sandema. Martin Tomodobing, Central Region. NDC has to win overwhelming majority of parliamentary seats, such that they will abandon their diabolic evil agenda of overturning the true mandate of the people, which is bringing Mahama back as president. NPP, never again. Martin, thank you for that message. Okay. Thank you. There's this one from Yakubu from Tamale who says good morning. Who promise of living a prosperous life? Find out to know the amount we are paying as service charge with the meters that they are hanging on the poles. We're paying 5 or 6 cities as service charges, and Northern Electricity Distribution Company have put $2 on each and every single meter. And we are now paying 34 cities as service charges, which we're spending on light. Do and die demo is on its way coming. Yakubu, send that from Tamale. Good morning to you, Yakubu. This one says, and I think we're talking too much. NDC and all patriots must understand that Nana-Addo and Jean Mensah have tested the grounds for the past 7 years. And no way Ghanaians and our opposition can only talk and remain docile. We need to prepare for bloodbath that this government is cooking up. We must sacrifice our blood to rescue this land from these vultures. It says, that's what Jean Mensah. It says we'll meet in hell come December 2024. Thank you for that message. This one's, I think Parliament should amend the law on the appointment of EC so that EC is appointed by a board of judges if there's something like that. William Kluche, Buipe in Savannah region, says this one goes to you personally. Hey. Okay, thank you. So, like you said, it's for me. So, I've read it and I've noted it. Thank you. So, those are some of the messages you're sending to us on our very first topic of discussion.
I just want to touch on one of what your avid watchers just sent you.
Okay, briefly.
My brother, I don't want to go to hell in December. I want the MPP to leave office. I don't want a bloodbath. I want to go and vote. And let them go. You know why I don't want a bloodbath? Because a bloodbath is not discriminatory. There will not be a bloodbath that will not disenfranchise some children who need a father to take care of them. There will not be a bloodbath that will discriminate against a mother who needs to find food for her children to eat. Why would you want a bloodbath when all that needs to happen is that these people can just wait for the plebiscite to remove them, like we've always done? Like President Mahama lost elections in 2016, graciously conceded. President Kufuor lost, graciously conceded. Why are we trying to rig an election when the very people trying to rig the election have not created the economic conditions for you to vote for them? I said yesterday on a program that before I met Ken Oforiatta in the finance ministry, I never knew that my bank deposits were not safe. Did you know that?
I guess we'll be coming back to that. Thank you very much.
So what I'm saying is that let's stop talking about there will be bloodshed, there will be bloodbath, because the bloodbath doesn't discriminate between NDC and MPP.
Okay.
Right? And I definitely don't want to die.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Kochuchumbwa, for his former chief executive of the Ghana Free Zones Board, and of course,
the president said he doesn't want. The president before he said even if a chicken's blood is spilled, he doesn't want any part of it. Of course, after he became president, 8 people died, and it was only 8 people. That was okay.
And also on the show, Mr. Nia Boyanan is a financial analyst and also an aspirant for the MPship of Ododo, and sitting right to my right is lawyer Apia Dankwa from the Movement for Change. We'll take a break. When we come back, we are discussing the president's promise that he will leave a prosperous, progressive Ghana. We'll be back.
Into the land of freedom, he's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer.
Well, thank you very much for staying tuned to the Mother of All Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We are live on Pan-African Television, and of course, we are live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. I'll soon acknowledge some of the stations that you can hear us live on across the region. A big thank you to our partner stations across the region. You're giving us that fantastic reach that we get everywhere we go. Somebody listens to Alhaji and Alhaji. So a big thank you to Shine FM in Akachi 96.9 is your dial. Hills FM in Adaklu 91.7. Nyawasi Radio Ketekrachi on 89.7. Stella Radio in my own constituency of Dabala on 97.1. Diamond FM in Tamale on 93.7. Bewa Radio Yendi on 106.5. Radio Kita on Saboba on 95.7. Benya FM, Elmina 105.7. Global FM 105.1 is in Ho. Big thank you to Zebs FM 95.9 in Zebila, True FM 92.5 in Ade. So Lamara FM is on 89.1 in Tripoli. There's Boem 88.7 FM in Jasikan, Lukusi 96.1 Vergo Lukwati, Tyne FM 90.9, and of course our very good friend Sekbele 104.3 in Likpe Todume. Thank you all very much. We have to talk about President Kufuor's promise: live a prosperous, progressive Ghana. That sounds weird, but anyway, we'll start once again with Mr. Niyabuana.
Well, it's a promise, and the little we know in law is that you cannot hold anybody legally for his promise. I think I'm right. So you can promise and decide to fail, knowing very well you will fail. Well, but on a more serious note, what is he going to leave? He's going to leave a progressively declining cocoa sector. A progressively declining monetary failure from the BOG. It is going to leave a progressively declining Ministry of Finance that for several years now have had failed fiscal policies. Is going to leave a progressively declining agric sector that has produced the worst inflation ever in the history of Ghana, not even compared to the 80s. Is going to leave a progressively declining discipline in society when it comes to corruption, when it comes to work attitude, and everything. I don't know what is prosperous about a declining trajectory. Since 2019 and prior to 2019, we must state here that for the first time in 2016, our financing requirement from 2015 to 2016 was reduced. Our issuance of currency slowed to about 16%. And we must state that throughout the governance of this current government, led by President Akufo-Addo, we have always financed a higher deficit when it comes to our fiscal policy in terms of our budget. When the warnings were out there and people pretend, including the IMF themselves, that they have now become darlings of, that the election cycle in 2020 and the way we tend to do things during those periods might destroy this economy, we went ahead and even financed a bigger deficit under the cover-up of the pandemic. With all this, we've had opportunity post-COVID to do the right things, and we have failed. You know, my senior brother here has stated most of these taxes that were introduced over the period. Most of them, or some of them I should say, have been scrapped, like the luxurious tax, on the basis that they are not going to be effective. It was on the same basis that the so-called nuisance taxes were also removed. I am asking whether the e-transfer levy imposed on all of us for merely using money, tax on money that has been imposed on us, has it ever achieved expectation? No. Has it been scrapped? No. Why? It has not been scrapped because that is an opaque way of making illegal money for people in government. And I say it here with all authority. There is no transparency in there. BOG should tell us on what basis those levies are computed, on what basis are the charges computed on transfer, and how they are distributed. Nobody knows. We have tolerated all this, all these corruptions going on. That is why I said it's leaving the worst indisciplined society behind, where anything is possible when it comes to money. This is a government that has watched on, that have collapsed our bond market. Today, we do not have a bond market. To the extent that at a period of time, Ghanaian banks cannot even issue LCs acceptable internationally. Throughout my practice, I did not come across any of such until this government. That Ghana will need Ghanaian banks will need South African banks to issue LC acceptable internationally. Well, his prosperous probably has different meanings. But after destroying the bond market, and you see, the bond market is not, and let's be fair, it has risk. Because after a bond is issued, the debt will be traded in. When people start withdrawing, the face value stays the same, but the market value goes down. What it means is that if the Ghanaian people did not have confidence to trade in their local bonds, as they have always done, the question is, what did they saw? They saw progress, they saw prosperity, and for that matter, they started withdrawing from the bond market until the prices of bond, the market values of bond crashed just in February 2022. Non-resident debt owners had to cash out over $2 billion. And that is the genesis. What did they saw? Go and listen to Ken Oforiatta at that time, in 2022, telling us the economy was still robust. We issued, and as part of our restructuring, we issued new debt to restructure the old debt. And that also failed. We had targeted 164 billion. We ended up with 84 billion. We wanted to achieve 55% debt to GDP. Until now, we are not successful with that. With all the haircuts we got, all the punishment we got for just being part of savings, we still couldn't achieve it. Now, if a government should set a target of 55% debt to GDP, put in place mechanism to achieve that, and ended up achieving almost 90% debt to GDP, what should we call such persons? Now, the treasury bills and time savings in 2023 was paying interest around 30%, which is being gauged close to what inflation was turning up to and how it was trending. Then all of a sudden in April, there was oversubscription because the bond market has collapsed and we have moved all the banks to go into treasury bills, and it was oversubscribed overnight, for the mere reason of that oversubscription. BOG and this government dropped the rate to 19%. Overnight. I mean, I want to say what logic, but the best word would be what sense. I mean, you must be practically mad in the financial space to do such a thing. Yet, it was done under this government. And then all of a sudden, when they realized that the appetite of Ghanaians were no longer into treasury bills and people were withdrawing and it is causing our bank a lot of pain, then they shot it up to over 30% again without the market determining it. All these factors, the market was not allowed to determine it. It was determined by somebody sitting down at BOG. Yes, they are supposed to determine the price of capital. But this is not the way to do it. This has never been the way to do it. This is criminal-minded. A whole governor of the Bank of Ghana tells us that I know that government's fiscal policy will be a failure. Yet, I was asked to finance the failure. What is prosperous about this? Look, Senat, I don't know. Probably he meant prosperous for individuals within his government, not the rest of Ghanaians. Because the difference is clear. Very, very clear. When you see them and you see us, you can see the difference. That if there are any people on and in this country prospering, are those in government or linked with government activities. What has Cocoa Board been left? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, they are in huge debts. Undoubtedly, what is going to leave behind by the end of 2024 will be a debt close to $1 trillion. And I don't foresee any fiscal budget, any fiscal policy that will have answers to that level of debt. I don't foresee any implementation of whatever, whether lifeline tariff, whether VAT on above lifeline tariff. I don't foresee any. Look, we were here and we were told that we must expand the tax net and blah, 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 and all that. They brought in systems. And these systems are able to track VAT. When I suggested some time back that what we needed was e-invoicing, we saw them talking about e-VAT. And they said that was the solution. And with e-VAT, they are going to rake in more. And their target was that they can rake in about 50 billion. They ended up with 22 billion. And even that, I think that they will not perform any much better if the final figures are out in terms of 2023. Today we are here. We are bringing on another pain to the Ghanaian. Look, what we have done, right, is in two folds. We have reduced the field of margins of every businessman in this country. Everybody that stands behind the production of any commodity, any goods and services in this country, his margins have been reduced by tax. Field of margin that he can play in has been removed by taxes. At the same time, tax is a leading factor of pushing inflation upwards. Now, they are bringing it to our dwelling, electricity on our dwellings. What it means that there is more demand on the average Ghanaian to pay for more, which also means that the average Ghanaian must go out there and earn more, which is virtually impossible. And therefore, the dispensable funds available to every Ghanaian is also being taken away by government, which is going to mean that every Ghanaian, whatever production or service you sign behind, you must seek to increase prices so you can go pay for what is being taken away from you. If not, you must reduce the consumption of what you have been used to, or migrate from what you consume. So if you consume the grid power, you must move on to solar power. And for your information, they are bringing taxes on everything solar. The lithium-ion batteries will be affected by taxes. The panels will be affected by taxes. I mean, where do I look for progress? Where do I look for prosperity in the scenario of Ghana? Let's be fair. It is right to encourage the people and try to move them along. But at least, before we move, let us see a sign of relief. I don't see any sign of relief in the near future. We are already drowning. The water is not up to our neck. We are drowning. We are completely immersed in water. And we are grasping for breath. That is what the picture is. Look, any government that is going to take over from President Akufo-Addo, and it's an advice, you have to overhaul everything. You have to overhaul everything because the canker is too deep. Everywhere. Look, in our forces, it has been taken there. Everywhere. Anyone taking over, if you want to be successful, must overhaul everything about the finances of this country. Our tax act must bring some relief to Ghanaians, and it must be overhauled in many ways. Our banking act must have the same experience. Our insurance act must have the same. Every aspect of our financial space must be overhauled so that when we have such characters ever again in government, ever by mistake in government, we will not face or go through this predicament we are going through ever again. Because when a law says that what you are able to produce as tax revenues, you cannot finance more than 5% of that. And a governor who is not supported by any act goes on and breach that. And we do not even have the confidence to go to the court and seek redress because our legal system itself is questionable today. What is prosperous? What is progressive about this? Look, we need solid men and women in government after President Akufo-Addo. And it has been so difficult for me to find a single one in the NPP. You can take it away.
If you just join us, Mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji, we are discussing President Akufo-Addo's promise. Simple. He will leave behind a progressive and prosperous Ghana. A few messages. Well, this one is taking us back into history. It says, good morning to your panelists. Today is the National Redemption Day. January 13, 1972, when a champion and co-rescued Ghana from Busia and the so-called Progressive Party, which sent the country back to pre-bond of 1844 days under Operation Kucho. Pamua sent that from Sawam, he says. This one says, yes, this one says, good morning. The incompetence of this government is nauseating, but they're still going around saying it is possible to break the aid. Dumso is back, JDM is coming, and it is the people who are calling for his comeback to save us from this mess. 24-hour economy evangelist, that's what he calls himself. Thank you very much. Okay. Some more messages. This is from our YouTube page. This one says, hello, Senna. My wife likes this program so much. She is an MPP woman who loves the party so much, but now she has changed her mind to the way the party is doing things. So that's from Mr. and Mrs. Hall. Very interesting. Danny Man says, never in the history of our country has such levels of arrogance and criminality been witnessed, not even in the times of military rule. Kofi Akufo-Addo is making mockery of the people of Ghana. He has gone his way to becoming the president of Ghana and has accomplished looting the country's wealth for his family. That's Kofi Asamoah. There's Adidas Ribo, who says, good morning. He is just joining us from Amsterdam in Holland. Thank you for those messages. Lara?
What you call what Nalo said a promise. He said what Nalo said.
Yeah.
He's going to leave a prosperous nation. You call it a promise.
Yeah.
Is it a promise or is it an insult?
He promised.
It's a clear situation of the president taking a Mickey. But I'll let you use the word a piss. You understand? Really. And I think we are not angry enough. Seriously. After 7 years in office, you've destroyed everything. I know they don't hear, spent time focused and spoke about the destruction of the financial sector. And at the end of the day, if your financial sector is finished, if people don't trust in the intermediary system, you understand? If people lose faith in going to put their monies in the bank, because at the end of the day, that underpins entrepreneurship, business, economic activity. So that when there is a distraction of that, then there's no way you can have a prosperity. What Anado said wasn't a promise. The man is a clear case of adding salt into injury. You understand? A clear case of adding salt into injury. Indeed, I think clearly is one of the many instances where the president has said one thing and really meant something else. It's not the same person who told us, some few minutes after becoming president of Ghana, that he was going to protect the public purse. Ronaldo, after he took his vow, said that he was going to protect the public purse. right now, the president has broken the padlock of the public purse, opened it ajar. The public purse has been opened ajar. And they are playing chaskele with it. But to the extent that indeed, even the private purse has been broken ajar. They call it what, haircuts. People's private monies, their purse, have been broken ajar. But he said he was going to protect the public purse. Not so. Now, is it not the same person who said Ghana beyond aid? Did you watch that speech? Yeah. In fact, I was so invigorated when I made that speech. When I saw the angst with which he said, and that we make our policies and we expect the taxpayers' money of other countries to fund our projects. And I was like, wow, that's a serious president. Yes, we are going to finally we finally got ourselves a leader who is going to lead us into the economic heaven. At no point in the history of this country has Ghana practically gone a-begging. We are beyond aid. Right now, we are beyond the need for aid. Right now. Is this not the same president, when he was in opposition, said, during president for the first time, $1, 1 cedi, and that the man largely responsible for that situation was Mahmoud Bawumia, and that he's bringing him, and that under the NDC, right now is $1, 2 cedis, and that we need a strong cedi. So we have the foundation upon which to build a prosperous economy. Not so. And then he was going to bring Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Today the cedi, in fact, right now, because it came from 17, right now is at 12. Not so. Yeah. It's not the same man. Nanado, who said he was going to lead the transformation of the Ghanaian economy. That he was going to lead a government that was going to build economy and then transform and add value addition and all. And that this same man decides to spend just a paltry 400 million Ghana cedis on a policy that had the potential to bring a realization of our movement from the Gadgisbergan economy to a real transformed economy, and rather spent 2.1 billion on NAPCO. So you come to power and you say that as part of your Ghana Beyond Aid, you are going to lead the total transformation of the economy of Ghana, and that your commitment was in value addition. And then you have a policy that potentially could lead to a realization of this utopia, this dream. And yet you spend just 400 million Ghana cedis on it, and you go and spend 2.1 billion Ghana cedis, 2.1 billion on NAPCO. Immediately I heard this promise. You say promise, I say insult. That he was going to leave a prosperous country, because it's like the opposite of everything, the opposite of, or whenever I say something, the direct opposite happens.
Reminds me of a certain person.
I know you don't have to mention his name. The direct opposite happens. You see? You see? It is trite that when you're talking about prosperity of a people, you're talking about prosperity, that means that you, the government, you're going to use your power or your role in any economy. Because when you define economy in its most basic terms, it's simply the state of any nation in terms of its production and consumption of goods and services and the supply of money. And in this function, the role that the government plays is in the government's fiscal policy and monetary policy. So one, how you raise money and how you spend money. And you see, any serious government that really wants to bring about real prosperity you just don't levy taxes anyhow, or you don't see taxes as just a means of raising revenue, but you really see tax as a means of driving policy, a means of boosting productivity, or even bringing equilibrium, some form of equilibrium into economic productivity. Same for your how you spend money. Now, Sena, let's just take the November what's it called, budget, because within that budget points us to how government intends to raise money and how they intend to spend, and you can glean the commitment of Ghana within that tax. We can take all other taxes, 2022 tax, and all of it, and consistently, Nanado's government or Nanado himself, sometimes, I was talking about the political parties. You see, the way we are doing things, if you don't take care, both political parties can be taken over by charlatans, and they'll use the parties to advance their own parochial interests. My big brother Akra here was talking about the fact that there are certain people in this country who feel that the country belongs to them. Akra, you should have mentioned some names. Some people think that the country is for them, and so those people can easily use the political parties. They don't believe in the ideas of the political parties. They don't believe in the philosophy of the political parties. They don't believe in the values of the political parties. You understand? But the way our political parties have been weakened in terms of believing any set ideas and values and principles, any charlatan at all can take over the party and then use the party to advance their own selfish agenda. Clearly, when you look at Nana, you see what bad leadership can do to a country. He's impoverished everybody. Nana, you have not left, or you are not going to leave any prosperous Ghana. What you've done is that you've impoverished everybody in this country. Your bad leadership has impoverished all of us. And in fact, it's not just impoverished, it's even destroyed the party. It's destroyed the party. Because, and I'll say it again, that you see, the two big parties have been given a huge privilege. Ghanaians essentially tell them, NDC, choose somebody for us, MPP, choose somebody, and we Ghanaians will choose between them who will make president. That's a huge burden. But they joke with that burden. They joke with that burden. They go and pay some monies, and then they get any, out of respect, I'll use some words, anybody at all, people who have no business being in leadership. Because clearly, Nanado is not a leader. Maybe people are afraid, but he's not a leader. We have positional leadership, and we have somebody who clearly wanted to be president, the title. But in terms of vision, in terms of commitment to building a nation, because he's not just destroyed the economy, he's destroyed the economy. And see, when I say destroy, he's destroyed, and I don't even see how we are going to, as in we need, they don't hear said we need, what's it called, an overhaul of the whole system. Before we need beyond that, we need 10 years of, 10 times or 10 presidents, future presidents, who will consistently give us exceptional leadership to come out of the hole we are in right now. Because right now we don't have credibility. The government does not have credibility. So do you know how many years it will take for people to trust the system again to go and buy bonds? Do you know how long it will take people to build the confidence to go and put their money in the bank? Because immediately you destroy the intermediary system, you finish the economy. Because the whole idea of intermediation is, listen, some people have monies, probably don't have use for now or need for now, so they go and put it in the bank. People have ideas, and then it's from this same kitty that the banks will then advance. So when you touch the intermediary sector, you finish the economy, and you're talking about prosperity. I thought prosperity when all these taxes you already even finish. Do we still have coverage? You didn't even finish.
You wouldn't be speaking by now.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I didn't get to the Uber part. Even Uber, they put taxes on Uber.
You understand? You put all these taxes. How is business? How is business ever going to survive? The point is that you have created a poisonous economic environment where entrepreneurs will struggle to, because you see, take all the prosperous nations in this world. take the USA, take all the prosperous nations, and if there's one thing that is clear, their prosperity is built on the back of entrepreneurship. There's this documentary, The Men Who Built America. You go and watch that documentary, it's in 9 series, and they don't even mention one president. They mention Edison, they mention Rockefeller, they mention Vanderbilt, because the people who built countries are the ingenuity of private people. All you government, what you're supposed to do is just give create the enabling environment. That what is difficult. You come and then you spend 2.1 billion on AFCO. Hey, Ghana, you spend 2.1 billion on AFCO. And I find some people and they say what break dead and that also. You understand? You spend 2.1 billion on AFCO. When you see we have, fortunately, you are in a country of talented human beings. Ghanaians are too talented. Seriously. We are too talented. We are a country where people are not afraid to go out there and venture and do something for themselves. But sometimes I wake up, let's say when I'm around 5:30, 6 o'clock, the number of people on the streets heading towards town. When you go to America by 7 o'clock, they are asleep. I'm telling you, nobody they are asleep. I'm telling you, at 5 o'clock you see people, and yet they go and struggle, but because of a poisonous economic environment, as in nothing is happening, and there are times that you create prosperity. We should have seen, we should have seen that commitment even in your last budget. Let's say you've as in the previous budget, or at least in your last budget, you should have seen a clear demonstration of your commitment to create prosperity among Ghanaians. And he's taking Mickey at us. He's laughing at us. Clearly, you don't need any professor to tell you that the biggest problems facing this country is one, lack of employment, government's inability to raise revenue, and lack of foreign exchange. You understand? Now, it is also trite that when it comes to employment issues, the biggest creators of jobs in any economy is a small and medium scale enterprises. What commitment? If you talk about prosperity, what strategy? Because they talk about how they go, something about Tampa, and they can make all those dragons. And there's no. And there's no. You understand?
Then you are pocketing the commission.
And there's nothing. Because these cocoa sellers and things, their capital is about 100 Ghana cedis. It's about 100 Ghana cedis. If you create a system, one. We were talking about expanding the tax net. You go to a jurisdiction like America, after the Great Depression, and right after the Second World War, Dwight Eisenhower, he was a military man. He didn't have all those Harvard, and he was a military man, proper military man. He had led the Allies to victory. He became their president. And this military man, who did not have who didn't have any economic background, who wasn't a lawyer. We respect he's a lawyer. If I'm a lawyer, doesn't mean I have wisdom. As introduced what we call the Small Business Act. That created a small business agency. Now, what that agency did and is still doing is that it looks for small businesses and they build them up. They build them up in terms of what their corporate governance structure. First of all, they register them, build them up in terms of the corporate governance structure, and they find a way of giving them money. Because those small businesses, when they go to the bank won't give them money. So if you are government, you think about a way of getting some capital to them. It can be a loan guarantee scheme. It can be, you have the power. That's why we have given to you executive power. Be creative. Because if your commitment is in creating prosperity, then you be concerned and deliberate about all these little.
When you see the Apple fingerprint that was introduced some years back, it came from the SBA.
Yeah.
He also built the interstate system in the US.
No, they are Autobahn. So when I entered Berlin and saw at that time in the 1945 the extent to which the Germans have built their inter, he came, and when he became president, and see that was a Ghanaian. Sometimes we look, when we look at human beings, we look at, he's a lawyer, so we just look at a lawyer. We don't look at the person. He's an economist. We don't look at the person. So Bamia is an economist. But Bamia, you see, vice president, you go and say the lives of the people of what's it called? Agbogblosi matters like the level of people of cantonments. And for you to the gap between bridging the Agbogblosi people to cantonment is to provide with them 20 toilets. That statement is impeachable. That thing he did, it is impeachable.
You know, he also began the processes that led to the building of the Akosombo Dam.
Yes.
After Yanum
Yeah.
had sent a delegation to the U.S. Congress not to build the dam because Nkrumah was a communist.
You see, as I say, so right now, and see, the problem is with the Ghanaian people. When you are going to choose your leader, because right now Tamaklo is like about the biggest prophet in Ghana. Right now. Because he's the only person
without a church.
Without a church. He said, listen, you are going to learn a better lesson in leadership. And the biggest problem with another, he's not a leader. He's not a leader, trust me. He's not a leader. It's a clear case of what happens to people when you put a square peg. Maybe he was a great lawyer. Maybe. The fact that you're a great lawyer, I said maybe, I don't know. But the fact that you're a great lawyer does not mean that you necessarily become a great president. You understand? The fact that maybe academically somebody can give lectures and go into Baba and produce the Baba doesn't mean that when you make him president, he can succeed. We must think deeply because Nanado, after messing us up, wants to sell poison to us. He's messed us up. And then you go and you have the audacity to tell Ghanaians that your last job is to ensure that you're calling Timothy. The Bewa. Kojo Bewa.
When you graduated law school, did you graduate on Sunday?
No, I graduated on Friday. It was the Friday, my first Friday in October.
But did you have classmates?
Plenty.
So can you point to them?
Oh, I can point to one. In fact, even my juniors. Patrick Boma was my junior.
I can even
point to my juniors. They're my seniors. You understand? The point is,
some people don't have classmates.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that, you see, I'm very focused. What I'm saying is that after messing us, after taking the Mickey out of us, now you want your legacy to be, you want to give us poison. No. It won't happen. Because, see, we don't want a situation where anybody at all who clearly doesn't have a vision. So first of all, there's no vision. So there can't be a plan. Who just wants to be president for being president's sake? What is at stake is too big to put the destiny of the over 13 million people of this country and those who come after into the hands of people who do not have a clue about leadership. See, anytime I go to Takrade, I get sad. I look at the state of our rivers. The Galamsey, people talk about SAR. So there are so many things that we can say are the biggest evils down to Ghana. Some people talk about SAR. Galamsey, the Galamsey situation. In the wisdom of the constitution, they felt it wise to create in the president a trust. That's about one of the biggest obligations or responsibilities that can be imposed into any human being. A trust. For and on behalf of the people of Ghana, you sit aloof and they steal the resources which are meant to be the foundation, the basis for the prosperity of the common Ghanaian. You sit down aloof and they steal those properties, and beyond even stealing, they destroy the environment. So people are supposed to be drinking mercury-laden water so they'll die. People give birth to deformed children. And all this has happened under your watch. All this has happened under your watch, under the watch of Nana Akufo-Addo, the legacy of Nana Akufo-Addo. You can mention about the broken down financial system. You can talk about in fact, so you take the MPP's constitution, they say they're a party that believes in decentralization. That's what they say. I don't think we've ever seen a government or any president who has taken all the power at the very top. There's no attempt to decentralize that power. And yet, all that power that has been taken has been used for nothing. You talk about the free SHS. That's a fantastic idea. Implementation zero. Because what they've created is a very chaos situation in the educational system. Because you see, education, anybody who tells you that education is run in Ghana, we are asked for whether or not our education system is successful, they've passed and they've blown an exam. Jesus Christ. So what happened to, and maybe I can refer to my senior here, because we had a similar, to appreciation for culture to music. Because when we were in school, you understand, as in first time, you know that every Tuesday and Thursday, you go to tribal meetings where they teach about your tribe, your customs, you learn about your culture, but the things that made you, let's say I'm an Ashanti, so we go to but in the larger Akan group. You understand? To our music appreciation. The first time I heard about Chopin, and it wasn't actually, it was Friday, music appreciation. We talk about games, playing football, sports, a rounded education. You understand? And beyond even the connections we made in school. Now, this case who are going to school, they don't have connections. Because some people go to what? They say what? Strand here. So Strand, they maybe just from one boys are there. You understand? In the old system, they had the benefit of having, so when you went to Form 1, you had to Form 1 up to upper 6. So you had like 6 stream of people around you. And that's the potential connection. You finish at upper 6, you have another 6. So that's a 13-year stream of connection. Right now, so SS, we just have 2. So let's say 5 in all. But at least we had the full benefit of a proper education that not only builds your mind, but builds your heart and builds your hands. So immediately you start judging how well your educational policy is by whether or not they've passed by the certification process. Because what examination does is just to certify. Have we not had cases of people who didn't get AA in school and yet are contributing massively to the development of this country? So maybe you limit how well your educational system is by because people have passed, then you've lost them. You've lost it. But a system where you can't even predict when you return to school. Nado is the worst president Ghana has had. In fact, when His Excellency Johama was leaving office, in my opinion, at that point in the history of this country, was the worst president. I didn't believe we would get anybody. Right now, Mama, he's making Mama a saint. I'm telling you. He's making Mama a saint. And then because I don't want to, because he's a former president, I don't want to use certain words. Say he's a country or, but to think that you want to impose upon this our country poison, to come and finish us quarter. Then it means that he does not, or he's a patriot. He has his own. That's what I'm saying. The political parties must be careful because he's just used the MPP to pursue and achieve his own individual agenda in life. I want to be president. I want to be president without understanding that your leadership is supposed to lead to the overall prosperity of the people of this country. But no, right now your honest effort won't bring you honest results. That's what my brother was saying about the small margin of. If there's no margin for profit, and immediately you create a system where businesses can thrive, then you are finished. So what he's saying about he's going to leave a country that is prosperous, and he himself knows that is not true. He himself knows that is not true. He's just deceiving us. And Ghanaians must rise up. You understand? I stand about it. No bloodshed. No, won't be bloodshed. And vote massively against Timothy Beiwa. Because that will be sounding a certain warning to the future. That is, we won't sit down and only because you claim you belong to a certain party. You won't sit down only because you say you are an economist and you have a doctor. You won't sit down only because you can speak English in a certain way and vote for you. And we are going to interrogate the people. And you see, there is even the dishonesty of, so he thinks blue economy sounds beautiful in the ears of people. So he can say it's blue economy, doesn't even understand the nonsense of blue economy. Then he can blue economy. You understand? See, the days when he could go and stand and say, what do you say? If the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you, and people clapped. And later he had the cockroach audacity to go and stand on the podium and say that it is what's called logic to say that listen, it's not going to happen again. Right now, what Ghanaians need is a clear plan, a clear vision. Yes, and for me there are two visions now. One is a vision plus a plan, the great transformational plan. One is a vision which really is the effect, because really, when talking about 24-hour economy, you're talking about the effect. What President Mahama hasn't told us is the costs, the things he intends to put in place to bring about the 24-hour economy. But the 24-hour economy being an ideal that we should all look in fact, that is what the GTP, the Great Transformational Plan, will eventually lead to the 24-hour economy. Our regular economy, they forget about him. He doesn't have a plan. He wants to go and see something. When Ghanaians are going to vote in 2024, beyond interrogating the human beings, because then when we vote, when we don't put our executive powers in parties, when you vote for as nobody will put executive power in the hands of NDC or NPP or Movement for Change. We put our executive power in the hands of human beings. So those of you who want to vote for Mahama, you are going to put the executive power into his hands. Those of you who want to vote for Honorable Alan, you are going to put the executive power into the hands of Alan Chemanten. Those of you who probably you have cataract, so you want to vote for Baumia, you want to put the executive power in the hands of Baumia. It is necessary that we interrogate all these human beings, all these men, what they stand for, what their values are, what their ideals are, what their principles are, what their visions are. And I'm saying already one vision is not a vision. So put it aside. Two clear visions. One has not only laid out the vision, but he's also given us the courses that will lead to that vision. The other party has given a vision, and I can't argue against that vision. But what I don't know is what he intends to do to achieve that vision. So I'll call on Ghanaians that where we are right now, we need excellent leadership. And that excellent leadership is the vote for Alan John Kujo Chairmanton with his great transformational plan. When we do that, then we will start the beginning of the process that will lead to Ghana rising again. Because to do that, then we need a leader that can bring all of us together and who has a plan that will bring about the prosperity of all of us. That person is Alan John Kujo Chairmanton. But having said that, we should just dismiss what Anado is saying with the part of our left hand. Because clearly, beyond all the messes he's caused us, he clearly doesn't respect us. Otherwise, he will not have the audacity to stand on any podium and say, on this 12th hour, without a plan, when he's already rolled out his budget, because everything he will do is in his budget. And that budget is going to bring about doom, not prosperity. He can still have the cockroach audacity to tell us that I'll leave for you a prosperous nation. That is a joke. And we should vent that anger against Dr. Baumia by voting massively against him come 2024. At the end of the day, Ghana is for all of us. And it's our responsibility, no, it is our obligation to ensure that this country, with all its potential, takes back its place as the black star of Africa.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Julius Agahua and Tahiru Asawase says Senate President Anado should understand that he doesn't have any options other than to release power to the next NDC administration under the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, because Ghana is in a mess. It urgently requires nothing short of a visionary and experienced leader committed to righting the wrongs of the last 7 years and to build the Ghana we want. He says hashtag 24-hour economy is possible. That's from Julius Agahua and Tahiru in Asawase. This one, Komala Ganyan says, I just love listening to this lawyer. He's the most sincere MPP communicator, or former, he added former, that I have ever listened to. But I want to advise him to learn from Kwesindum and avoid using Afafran thought to reduce the NDC votes to the advantage of MPP. Abbas Amogobo in offense says, after collapsing the economy under Baumia as head of the solid economic management team, the same person want to be president. Voting for MPP again is like we are heading to hellfire. That's Abbas Amogobo. Thank you very much for that message. Hadi in Pig Farm also saying as a message, as a failed government with selfish interests. It's embarrassing as the day goes by. Too many rots in the system. The government is just doing very good in the things they spoke against some years back, to the extent that they are being corrupt on their own pledge to God. Useless government. The 24-hour economy is a fantastic idea. Those who have doubts about it, demand should ask themselves if there was a market for Samsung before it was first introduced by the company. His Excellency, the humble and hardworking JDM, is a visionary leader. Inshallah, come December 7, 2024, victory will be for JDM. That is coming from thank you very much. And then Isi Akwete also says, President Anado says he will leave behind a prosperous and progressive what? Sometimes when our president makes some flamboyant assessment of his stewardship, you have no option as a listener or bystander than to cause for your head to be examined, to be sure if nothing is wrong with you up there. That said, I think Dr. Nee said it all about what exactly the president is leaving behind. And we can only pray that it does not go worse than we are seeing currently before he leaves office. Thank you very much for those messages. Mr. Chumbafo.
This is my favorite topic. You see, there's a saying in P that the quarter course of a mountain, 18, when a naked man says he will give you clothes. As his name, Kontomponi so no befood. I am an indicator. If a liar tells you they'll come and thing with you, let the person lead you, because maybe some crows are doing number 2 from up there. Akufo-Addo cannot promise you anything because he made a promise to God, he hasn't fulfilled it. You see, after this statement, maybe we should close the show. Who in his right mind will attempt to make a promise to God? And as we speak now, there's a hole in the ground where he promised God the cathedral. So that should tell you where Akufo-Addo is. What he came to power to do with his gang of brigands and buccaneers, as I warned you people on this show for years and years, I know because they are my relatives. I told you they were coming to steal. They were coming to usurp. They were coming to take everything. They were coming to pan the bones dry, leave you dry bones, and go away. Because what they believe in is acquiring and usurping generational wealth whilst the rest of us suffer. That's what they've come to do. So, in order to cover what he has come to do, he wants to ensure that he rigs an election so that he can add Akufo-Addo into us in the name of Timothy, Alhaji Timothy, to come and continue the cover-up, which will end up being worse than the crime itself. That's what you, the lawyers, say. Okay? And so, they have an extension of this government, which extension does not even have the courage of his convictions to come out and confront his opponents. He sends his wife. Right? A few days ago, you heard Samira Bawumia insulting President Mahama again. And I have a few words of caution for her. Madam, in 2016, you said when you see President Mahama, you see corruption. When you see your husband today, I'm going to tell you what you should see. You should see boorish buffoonery. You should see a man who doesn't have the courage of his conviction. In fact, the courage of Dr. Bawumia's conviction is like a yellow-bellied salamander. He has the courage of a salamander because he cannot even own what he said. He said that if what was he saying? What did he say about that? If your fundamentals are weak, the currency will expose you. When you came to power, the fundamentals were that the cedi was at 4 cedis. Today, it is at 12.6. You have been exposed. What you said was that the Mahama government had borrowed money and our debt was about 55 billion cedis. Today, I don't even want to talk about what it is. Because even the Bank of Ghana has criminally printed 80 billion cedis. That's just one side. And when people went to confront the governor of the Bank of Ghana, the governor of the Bank of Ghana called them hooligans. After putting us in the financial mess that they have put us, the Bank of Ghana has the nerve to take you and I's money, $250 million of our money, and use it to build a new headquarters. Do those people deserve a new headquarters, or should they have been kicked out of their current offices to go and sit in that far park and work? Go sit under a tent and work. Right? That's what they've done. So, name one promise that the Akufo-Addo has been able to keep. You start, name one. And if you name one, I'll stop talking. Free SHS. Remember? Free SHS, free SHS, free SHS, free SHS, free SHS. Where is it now? Today, the children are going to school like rainbow. There's green track, indigo track, and that's what they're going. They go for 3 weeks, they come back for 3 months. And like lawyer said, we built our associations based on the quality of education that we had when we went to school. I've been ill for a while now. The person who saved my life is a doctor, mate of mine. Right? I don't want to mention his name. He doesn't want me to mention his name. But he saved my life for nothing, next to nothing. That is why we go to school. To build associations. So that one day, if I get into trouble, like I did when these people came to power, you call on a lawyer friend of yours to defend you, who knows your character, and says, this man is my friend, he couldn't have done what you accused him of doing. But the children today are going to come home education free. They are going to come home without PS. They are going to come home knowing absolutely and apparently nothing, thanks to Akufo-Addo, who has educated all his children, guess where? Outside the country. Whenever he falls ill, he hires an aircraft at your expense, goes to live in the hotel suite in which Atta was born in the middle of London, right? Pays £22,000 a night and goes to hospital from there. Where somebody else has instituted a health system that works. Somebody else has trained doctors who actually know their job. Somebody else has created a transport system that was not a transportation ministry that gives away COVID contracts to their pet Nigerians. Remember when COVID came? Remember? The contract to do testing was given to their pet Nigerian. And per their own reporting, I'm not saying they said, that Nigerian made $86 million and the state made $6 million. What do you think they are going to use the money for? Where do you think the money is going? Because if you guys, any of you traveled during that period, the money went into an offshore account. So they didn't tax that. And yet, I will take Uber. You are going to tax me for taking Uber. And you are promising us you will live what exactly? I mean, if you don't have anything to say, just say nothing. Because Ghanaians know, like Lawyer Pierre Danko said, this government is the most useless government this side of the Sahara. It is the most useless government in the history of this country. This government is so useless that useless is not even an appropriate adjective to describe it. Because this is a government that has an ex-chief justice of this country going to picket the finance ministry and asking for people's pensions. That's how useless they are. This is a government whose finance minister sits in the finance ministry, collects loans for accounting, and he and his deputy both have a schedule where they distribute the obligations to collect the loans and collect commissions on it. Then when they finish, after we have lost our money, he come and tell us that, oh, he was... This is a government whose finance minister has a company for which people have invested over 13 billion cedis as we speak. The company has just vanished. You can't go there and ask for anything. If you had children, they have different financial instruments. Some of it were to pay children's school fees, right? Those fees are not being paid, and they've written a letter to the schools that they don't have money at this moment to pay. So, Senna, if you had invested in one of those instruments and data bank, and it was to do with your children's school fees, today, your children will be sitting at home with you singing Abide With Me. Fast falls the evening tide. Hymn 257, the Methodist hymn book. Right? This is the kind of government that Kufuor is promising us that what are you going to leave? What you need to pray for is that what you have instituted will not come and bite you and your kid again. Right? I'm one of the very few family members who have never been given anything. So when the problem comes, nobody should come to my house. I told you people what was going to happen. And for me, John Mahama is my president. So, please, this guy should just go. Like I said earlier on, he should just keep quiet. The time is coming. Look, we have endured a lot. Look, there are 3 of us sitting here. Lawyer Pierre Dankwa was a believer. You see, let's not trivialize what it takes for a person like this man to come and sit here and tell us what he has seen. It's not easy. Right? Let's not trivialize what it takes for people who were otherwise not politically inclined, like my brother over here, to now decide that I have something to say and I'm going to come out and say it. Because this is getting ridiculous. As for me, I'm part of the Dead Goat Brigade. But what we told you, people like myself, Felix Omaniwama, Samuel Kujeto, what we told you is exactly what this man is doing. But the surprising thing is that he's doing worse. Because now our children can go to school, we have no savings. You can go to the bank today, you are going to look for money and the bank will tell you there's no money. Money that you took there yesterday. And so what are you telling us you are going to leave us? The only thing you want to leave us, Mr. President, is you want to leave us Timothy. But the presidency is not being a drum major in Boys Brigade. At one point in his life, Baumia was Boys Brigade. And he was called Timothy. He was a Christian. Today he's a Muslim. He's a finance expert. You see, what I'm trying to tell you is that Dr. Baumia has absolutely zero convictions. And all that he goes on about telling us is that he has built toilets. Somebody should ask Dr. Baumia that if you haven't eaten, can you do number 2? Somebody should ask Dr. Baumia that question. Give me food to eat first before you go and build a damn toilet. Because when the number 2 is coming, it doesn't matter where you are, you will find somewhere to put it. It compels you. What is wrong with you? We are suffering. You made all kinds of promises, all kinds of lectures. Do you remember his lectures? Dr. Baumia will go to Christ the King, and you are diplomats, the British High Commissioner, Jonathan Benjamin, sitting there. Where is that character now? Where is he now? Somebody find him for me. He should come back and tell us what is happening in this country. 7 years after he was the cheerleader of the MPP. Come and tell us where you have left us without savings. Where you are now, Jonathan Benjamin, where you are now. If you have lost your savings today, will you forgive Rishi Sunak? Come back here and come and suffer with us. Somebody should send this broadcast to him. Come back and come and talk plenty here again. You see, in this country, people forget that we have a very painful history. People have been shot willy-nilly for crimes that does not approach what has gone on in this country. Have any of you asked yourself that if a region of Jerry Rawlings picked up a gun today and decided to take all of us to task, what will happen? What do you think is going to happen? But you see, the next Jerry Rawlings, if we don't remove these people, will not come in the form of a military man. It may come in the form of 14 and 15-year-olds who have had enough. Right? And it has happened in this West Coast before. I can give you the history. So the 14 and 15-year-olds will come to your house wielding guns if they have been given enough of a motivation and wearing American football helmets, and they will come and kill all of us. And the surest way of stopping that is by these people having a free and fair election, leaving office, and being made to account for their stewardship like they made people account for their stewardship. End of story. Ever. No discussion. Nanadu, please, you can't give us anything you already haven't given us. You made a promise to God. You said you will build a cathedral. You said you are going to provide manna from heaven. You said you were going to do so many things. As we go to the place, there are holes, there's a hole in the ground. You can't even keep your promise to God. Please, go. Go. Yabre.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, this is from Johnny Kujo, who says, this is the most useless and incompetent government we have witnessed during this fourth Republican dispensation. So I want to know if that's the end of the Al Jazeera gold mafia expose. Well, Clement in Bogatanga is also joining us. Clement says the NDC should be ready for election rigging in the December elections and should prepare for it. The EC and MPP have signed up to the rigging methods, hence the withdrawal of the indelible ink. It was tested and succeeded. The closing of polls at 3 p.m. is still to be practiced. NDC, be more proactive than mere talks. You have been studied and known to be talkers but not actors. He says so. But look, Ekufuado's behavior is something we can associate with a proponent of the UGCC, which was made of wicked, selfish, greedy, and non-nationalistic group of people. That's what Ekufuado is emulating. Ekufuado didn't come to save Ghana, but to make a mark and enrich his CV as president of Ghana. So whatever is happening in Ghana today doesn't concern him. A warning to Ghanaians to prepare for the bombings, throwing of soda water bottles, and indiscriminate shootings as they occur in the pre-independence era in the December elections. That's Clement will send that from Bogatanga. There's this one says, Senna.
Listen, don't die for anything. Live for it. There are many heroes in the cemetery. They've already died for you. Why do you want to die? These people should go. You should live and become a testament and a manifestation of what John Mahama can do. What hasn't he done already? What hasn't John Mahama been able to do in 3 years and 8 months? He will do more. Don't die because of Ekufuado, because he's not planning to die.
Joseph Nete says, greetings to you, my brother, Mr. Kojo Chumbua, for aka the original agitator. It's been a while. Thank God for your life. There's Paul North Ola Kipkos who says, Sarah, I'm surprised you're using this credible program to discuss the joke of a visionless joker of a president. This joke have destroyed our country, and it will take several years for us to recover. They should stop insulting our intelligence on the top. Please avoid giving such useless statements credence. That's his own thought. This one says, please, good morning to you and your panel. Senator, please ask the NDC man. Okay. Okay. It says, tell us what the NDC will do for the nation when they come to power. Okay. He says, Alan all the way.
We are sacking Ekufuado. When we finish, we'll tell you what we'll do for you.
This one says, the panelists are just fantastic. Ghana needs patriotic government. Thank you. Praise God from Apa is also joining us. Bomia, behave like the chameleon in the bush. You should not be trusted at all costs. That's coming from him. This one said, I'm enjoying every bit of your program this morning. So Nana must be told in the face that he cannot impose a precedent on Ghanaians. Mamani Bimbila is also joining us. This one says, many of us are of the Negopianism, anti-Pan-Africanism, and corruption. Question is, how do we fix the country? Dr. Makeda is also joining us from Accra. Doc, thank you very much for the message. Says, Senator, ask Chairman Timman for me. Where is the sugarcane money? Mahama left for Chairman Tim to grow sugarcane for the factory. This from Jeff Bezos in Sunyani. Who sent that message? Vincent. Vincent is also joining us. Says, Senator, thanks for hosting this nice program. Surely 2024, this corrupt bald head. Oh, no. The way you said that, you know. Okay, so you can say everything, but he's not the only bald head person in Ghana. It says this is the most useless president ever in the history of the nation. I'll read it. This one, I'll read it. This one says your panelists are very knowledgeable. Currently, nobody listening to MPP again whenever they are on TV and radio stations to propagate their false agenda. They are certified. Okay, thank you. Kwesi Emmanuel send that from BBNE. Thank you. So many messages coming in response to this particular discussion. This one says Nana Addo Dankwa should give Ghanaians a break from his demoralizing, weak, visionless, and nation-wrecking speeches. He has done no prosperity and cannot do anything in the remaining months. Nana and Baumia must prepare a good handing over note detailing their corrupt practices. 24-hour economy is possible. Razak sent that from Gomwa is. Thank you for that message. So, good morning to you and your panelists. We will do every and anything to kick the incompetent MPP government. I'm Christian Ekwama from Odomi Chala in the Uti region. Okay, this one's sent us from. My wish is for Akufo-Addo to surprise us with a peaceful election. Joe sent that one from Boga. Abdo Kumbongo says, please don't say much. We will vote massively against the corrupt MPP government come 2024 election. Felicia Baini says she only says I support you. Benson from Takwa Akufo-Addo is already out of Jubilee House waiting for judgment. Then there's Newton in Jessica who says to compliment Kojo Chumbua for Akufo-Addo promised his God, whatever it was, stole Ghanaians' money and even pocketed it with his plundering brigands. This one says, I'm in full support of what he's saying. Okay, yeah, a lot of people are agreeing with Mr. Kojo Chumbua on the matter of living for. Yeah.
And then you put a man with two names as the person to administer the secretariat. So what was God going to call him?
Nuhu from Asante Bekwa says.
A man who had two Ghana cards. So if God wanted to address him, what was he addressing him as? Was he addressing him as Kuti Boateng or what was he going to address him as?
This goes to Akufo-Addo, Bawumia, and MPP. Politicians shouldn't politicize everything just to gain power because you surely reap what you sow. There is a Save Ghana movement. I thought Pan-African TV is to educate Ghanaians with what I have just. Okay, the Save Ghana movement. I hear you. This one says, me thinks the president is suffering from. Okay. Thank you very much for sending in those messages. I've read as many as I could on the topic of discussion, especially this particular topic, which seems to be attracting a lot of attention. Okay. This one, Seidu says, wish my daughter Alara happy birthday in advance. A birthday falls tomorrow. So a happy birthday in advance to Alara. Your father says, wish you all the best. Alara celebrates her birthday. Says, interestingly, she specifically asked me to tell you. Remember last year, this same. She's a new recruit for Radio Good and Pan-African TV. So happy birthday in advance to Alara, and thank you very much. There's Philip Bawisana. I don't think Afro-Franto movement has truly come out of the MPP because Alan said he will work with MPP MPs. Jean Mensah says she's a Christian, but the arrogant is not like Christ. Is not Christ-like. How she keeps quiet when 8 people died in an exercise she conducts as a Christian. Okay, how could she have kept quiet? Positive Change in Mandina is also joining us. The Ghanaian economy under Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia government is on life support. The only way the economy can bounce back is to implement GM's 24-hour economic policy in 2025 because it is the game changer. This policy will create jobs for the unemployed youth and also bring development. Thank you very much. Positive Change in Medina sent that one. A good morning to Mr. Clement and who is watching us from Leklebi. Thank you very much for all those messages. Well, we have to bring this to a close, but before we do that, tomorrow the Black Stars will play their first game in the AFCON. I think the least we can do is wish them the best. So I start from Lawyer. Briefly, very briefly.
Yeah, so I wish Ghana Black Stars the best. Honestly speaking, I don't have a lot of hope. My view is about the worst Black Stars team I have seen. As in, they don't have any identity. I think it's a massive indictment on the GFA because when it comes to national team, it's a reflection of your overall football policy. and our sports policy is in shambles. No youth football. We've gone to take players from England, Germany, who you don't understand because football is an expression of your culture. So this bim football that we are playing, bim. So the truth of the matter is that me, I don't have a lot of hope, but I'm a Ghanaian, and so as a Ghanaian, I wish them all the best. But when they come back, I think we should look at the JFA and their football policy, and the government too, their policy on sports. Because there's no grassroots level, no investment, nothing, and you want the Black Stars to do well. Yeah, so I wish them the best.
Done.
It's news to me. I'm just hearing it for the first time that Black Star is playing AFCON. I don't know which country is hosting it. And we are playing who?
Cape Verde.
This one possible.
Seriously, I'm not aware. Maybe.
So when they try to tournament in Ivory Coast, when they try to go and do the other thing in was it South Africa or Dubai?
South Africa.
You are in here.
No, I heard none.
So
The man is always busy crunching numbers.
Yeah, so the tournament is in Ivory Coast.
His handwriting
And
is so
they
nice.
attempted to go and do training.
I spent 31st before going to church for the all night. I spent it on work because GRA has all of a sudden made it a business to actually make sure that they kick out our expats because of the taxes they are raining on them. And now they are able to receive bank statements from other jurisdictions, and because you are a resident in Ghana, they tax you on those monies in your bank account in there. And I spent, after church, I came back and I spent the rest of the day also working on similar issues and all that. In fact, the economy is too hot to think of football.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, in fact, I don't know the team. And I'm being frank.
Yeah.
I don't know the team. I don't know. Once it is, once I am told, I will try and make time and watch them for their first match. I won't put my heart in there. And I wish them well. Maybe their performance can bring some joy to Ghanaians, and I will urge them all to strive harder. It is for them. It is more for the players than for us. We are just going to enjoy the bragging rights that, well, we have won the AFCON and all that. But for them, it does a lot to their career and everything. They should be forthright. They should focus with a lot of determination. Go out there and win. I would also be focusing on mine to make sure that I win. But if I make time, I will watch them. I wish them all the best. And who is the captain?
Andre,
Yes,
oh, okay. He's still in there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
yes, as like lawyer said, as a Ghanaian, I wish them luck. I wish them the best of Ghanaian luck. But we also know that football is an exact science. Our coach is utterly useless. And as somebody who advocated, given his past record and the fact that he had been around the team for a long time, for him to be made the coach, I apologize. I regret what I said. Unlike my family people, when I know I'm wrong, I apologize, and I apologize very quickly. He is not going to lead them anywhere. He doesn't know, like you said, we have no identity. We don't know whether we play a double pivot, we are playing 4-3-3 formation. He just plays like superstars who have arrived at Indadva Park with their girlfriends in their Porsches. They don't play anything. When they finish, it will go home. So if they manage to do well, it will be an act of God. But what we should also remember is that God resides everywhere. God is there for those who plan and those who don't plan. So your preparation and your nous, your tactical nous, your playing ability varies directly as your result. If you are going to lose to Madagascar, lose to Comoros, an island that has only 13 people, in 1,000 archipelagos, you are going to lose 4-0 to the USA. A team, let's remember, in 22 minutes, we are considered 4 goals. Remember that Kwesi Appiah, who we sacked, qualified the Black Stars for 2014. He got to the semi-final of the Cup of Nations. He actually got there as a finalist, assistant coach finalist twice, right? So we've gone and brought this our fellow Ghanaian who is completely and utterly useless.
Fellow Ghanaian.
Yes, I think that Chris Hughton, the way he speaks good English, should replace Kojo Ponkrumah as the information minister. But as coach of the Black Stars, no.
Thank you. All I thought I would hear was wish them all the best. But
I wish them all the best. But I'm asking you, when you have, look, even countries like Mali, who have absolutely nowhere near the GDP we have, go and look at the training center that they have built for the national team. Go and look at it, it's available online. Okay? We went to train our boys in a Bankesi. Look at the grass in a Bankesi. It was as if goats were chewing the grass. So how do we expect them to go out there and go and do well? But that's another conversation. I said our coach is coaching Wabongo.
thank you. Thank you. It will be, okay, so this is fine, Amara. Let my party members know the current EC leadership were appointed for a particular purpose. Let's even forget about the negative comments made by the EC leadership against the NDC. Let us take our destiny into our own hands. Senna, my good friend, regards to Kojo. And then this one is coming from Nana Frimpong. Okay, Nana says, Liverpool Football Club is taking over Pan-African TV and Alhaji. Regards to Mr. Kojo Chungwafu.
You know what team you support.
Well, a belated happy birthday to Ambassador James Victor Beho. In fact, they have not taken over, just that we are not wearing the jersey. Like it will be 2-2. Yeah, it will be 2-2.
It will be 2-2.
We've not won the
jersey.
Yes.
Put us on notice.
Yes.
But Senna knows that we are one of the jerseys here. Are you know?
There's a reason why some people can't wear their jerseys. Yes. The reason why
the only team in this world is Manchester United.
Oh, yeah. If your coach is busy sacking his players.
So Ambassador James Victor Behu, yesterday was his birthday. Today is happy birthday to Honorable Vincent Opon Samuel, who celebrates his birthday today, and happy birthday to Felicia Jifa Tegan. Felicia Jifa Tegan, who is a deputy women's organizer of the National Democratic Congress, a very good friend of this particular show. Jifa, happy birthday to you.
Jifa, happy birthday. Jifa.
Happy birthday.
You and I used to be tight, Jifa. I'll call you after the show.
And happy birthday to Dr. Martin Tetenate of New Age Agric Solutions. Happy birthday to you, Doc. And of course, a happy birthday to my senior Kofi Ochredakon, KOD. Celebrate his birthday today. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to KOD.
After the sacking, he's coming to go Black Star.
That's Mr. Kojo Chimbuafu, who is a former chief executive of the Ghana Free Zones Board, and of course a big thank you to Nia Boanan, financial analyst and also aspiring to lead the NDC in Ododo, and of course a big thank you, lawyer Appiah Dankwa from the Movement for Change. A big thank you from my crew, director John Hubert. Today the producer at post is Rabna, and of course TJ and Latifa are on their way to Kumasi. They are covering a solidarity march for the people of Palestine. Of course, that war is still ongoing. Conflict is still ongoing. And of course, a big thank you to the man in charge of sound. Today I've forgotten the other name, but I remember Titi. Titi was in charge of sound. A big thank you all for making time to join us. Very first show in 2024. We look forward to continue our partnership with you. And of course, I'll share that Facebook page, just that new Facebook page on my page. Please go and like and follow, so that would have enough likes and follows to stream live Alhaji and Alhaji next Saturday on Facebook. Because of the challenges we had, we were unable to do it this week. And of course, a big thank you to Ruben, who is in charge of research. We are done for today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a fruitful week.
Into the land of freedom, he's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer.